What if I told you that there's a critical piece of evidence regarding the 9/11 attacks that has been quietly hidden from the public? Every airplane is equipped with a black box, a device built to survive the most violent crashes. It's supposed to record everything, from cockpit conversations to flight data. So if the black boxes survived the impact on September 11th, 2001, where is the audio? Why has the public never been allowed to hear the full recordings from those flights? And why were we only shown a few generic hijacker calls while the rest of the audio simply disappeared? The official narrative of 9/11 is seared into our minds. Hijackers took control of 4 planes, crashed into iconic targets, and changed the course of history. Yet troubling questions remain. One of the most glaring mysteries is the missing audio from those black boxes. These devices, designed to withstand fire, impact, and even underwater conditions, supposedly survived the crashes. The official story says the data was recovered, but crucially, where is the audio? Why didn't the world hear the cockpit conversations that might have clarified what really happened? In aviation, black boxes are indestructible by design. They are meant to be the final record of a flight's last minutes, providing investigators with vital information. But in the case of 9/11, these devices recorded data while the audio, the core of the investigation, was kept from the public. Instead, we were fed a few vague snippets attributed to hijackers, and even those clips raise questions. Why has this information been suppressed? What exactly was on those tapes that authorities didn't want us to hear? The black boxes from the 4 hijacked planes were reportedly recovered. Officials say the data was analyzed, yet when it comes to audio, something doesn't add up. We were allowed to hear some recordings of alleged hijackers speaking in their native language, supposedly taking control. But that isn't the full story. The complete cockpit recordings, the pilots' exchanges, and crucial communications with air traffic control were never released. Why? Let's think about this logically. Black boxes are designed to survive crashes, even the most catastrophic ones. The United Airlines Flight 93, which crashed in Pennsylvania, was a horrific tragedy, but the black box was recovered. American Airlines Flight 11, which hit the World Trade Center, also had its black box retrieved. But despite this, only fragments of the audio were made public, and even those were heavily censored. The cockpit recordings that could have clarified the exact events leading to the hijackings have never been released in full. And it's not like the data didn't survive, because it did. The black boxes were found and they survived. So why the secrecy? One of the most intriguing aspects of this mystery is that the official narrative has always been shrouded in secrecy and ambiguity. The few pieces of audio we were allowed to hear seem suspiciously incomplete, offering just enough for the public to form a limited understanding of what transpired. The hijackers' voices were captured, but no full cockpit conversation. No real insight into what the pilots were saying in those final moments. The air traffic control exchanges were also never fully released. Why would this information be kept under wraps? What was on those tapes that the government didn't want the public to hear? Could it be that there was more to the story than we've been told? There are some conspiracy theories that suggest the planes themselves were faked, that the images we saw of planes crashing into the towers were created digitally. This theory posits that the so-called planes might not have even existed, or at least not in the form that we were told. If that were the case, then the absence of audio from the black boxes could be explained in a chilling way. The planes weren't actually real, and the black boxes were part of a fabricated narrative. The lack of audio could be a result of this missing element. No real pilots, no real cockpit conversations, no real hijacking events. Some have even pointed out that the technology to create incredibly realistic computer-generated imagery, CGI, was advanced enough in 2001 to fabricate the plane's impacts. If the planes didn't exist in the way we've been told, then it makes sense that the black boxes wouldn't have the real audio from the flights. The government might have known this from the start and therefore suppressed the black box recordings to avoid exposing the fact that something far more sinister was at play. There's also the fact that the black boxes, despite surviving the crashes, were treated in an oddly unusual way. The boxes weren't immediately made available for public or independent review. The recordings weren't shared with the public or even with many investigative bodies that would typically have access to them after such an event. Investigators were given only the most limited access to the data, and many of the details about the black box contents remain classified or sealed. It's almost as though there's something in those recordings that they don't want us to hear, something that would blow the lid off the official story and expose a web of deception. What does this all mean for the narrative of 9/11? It suggests that the version of events that we've been presented with may be incomplete, and the true story of what happened that day is far more complex than we've been led to believe. The black boxes, as indestructible as they are, offer a glimpse into the truth. If only we were allowed to hear everything they recorded. Why haven't we been given access to this crucial evidence? Why are we still left in the dark? The implications are staggering. If we are not being told the truth about the black box audio, what else are we not being told? The hijackers' voices may have been recorded, but what about the pilots? What about the conversations between the crew and air traffic control? What could those recordings reveal about the events leading up to the crash? Why have we been kept from hearing this critical information? The lack of transparency surrounding the 9/11 black boxes is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. There are still many unanswered questions about that day, and as time goes on, it seems more likely that we may never get the full story. The official narrative is built on half-truths and omissions, and the black box recordings represent just one of many pieces of evidence that has been hidden away. So, what does all of this mean? Are we being kept in the dark about the true nature of the 9/11 attacks? Are the black boxes the missing link to a deeper, more troubling truth? What's being hidden from us, and why? One thing is clear: if the government can suppress the audio from the black boxes, what else are they hiding? You be the judge. If you're awake, you already know what to do. Hit the link in our description and sign up for our free underground newsletter to stay informed, because the truth is often stranger than fiction.